I've been feeling kinda low. I've been giving go out for the door. But everything I did it well. Yeah, I did it well. They just wanna see me on the floor. So I'm taking my time without making mistakes. Believing there's a God without seeing his face. Never can the place, I can the place, and cause I paid. Never can the stress, I can the stress, and cause I can't, yeah. Straight up, I keep the same setup. I pan up on nobody's I keep my rent paid up, getting in my manners. I pan up on no sides I ain't need. I gotta get a bag. Money's gotta dance, cause man and nigga, why you find me? They need a vibe, they really need a vibe. I got one hour, no die, tiny. I don't want to go you, I don't want to go you. I don't want to go you, I don't want to go you. I don't want to go you, I don't want to go you. I don't want to go you. That's why it's sweet. That's why it's sweet. You do try to make you peace. I hate to see him, got it, Baba, I hate to see him. I hate to peace, Baba, I hate to peace. That's why it's sweet. That's why it's sweet. You do try to make you peace. I hate to see him, got it, Baba, I hate to see him. I hate to peace, Baba, I hate to peace. Straight up, I keep the same setup. I pan up on nobody's I ain't I keep my rent paid up, getting in my manners. I pan up on no sides I ain't need. I gotta get a bag. Money's gotta dance, cause one and I got why you fight me. They need a vibe, they really need a vibe. I got one hour, no die time.
Naiva kamoto kambere kutiva tevere usaka tenere itarenga kamoto kambere usaka tenere kutiva tevere itarenga.
That's why you sweet. That's why you sweet. You do try to make you peace. I heard it see, I did Baba, I heard it see. I hate to peace, Baba, I hate to peace. Straight up, I keep the same setup. I pan up on nobody.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, listeners and viewers, and welcome to yet another segment of Young Aspirations with Freddie Mashate. I am, of course, the Freddie Mashate. You guys can see I'm obviously in the dark, so yeah, at some point in time, I guess things will improve should ESCOM decide to play nicely with us. But thank you for joining us. Please do share the stream. We're just going to give it a minute or two for you guys to share the stream. Please share the stream far and wide. If there is a person that should be here that you know, please type their name in the comment section. And I know Facebook is loyal. We'll inform them and they should be with us in no time. Also, let us know who you are and where you are watching from. As always, we want to engage with you. Interesting topic that we have, and an interesting character that we have on the platform today. A big friend of mine, a brother, and basically a soldier in arms when it comes to hustling. Let's call it that for now. And I know that we have a lot to learn. So as you're coming onto the platform, please bring your notebook. As always, there's nuggets to be dropped and nuggets to be taken down as knots. Super excited. Please share the stream. Also, let us know who's watching and where you are watching from. We want to engage with you. With you. Let us know who is watching and where you are watching from. If you are on the platform for the very first time, welcome to Young Aspiration. It is a platform for young people by young people. And what we're trying to do basically is to create a platform where you guys are all inspired, where you can reach your optimal performance, optimal capabilities. By just listening to other people's stories and getting inspiration from that. And I hope that is what is going to be happening today. Please let us know who is watching. I'm very keen. Please don't be shy. Type your name in the comment section and also let us know where you're watching from. I'm giving it 30 seconds for you guys to share the stream. Please be loyal. Share the stream. Otherwise, Tinashe will not come onto the platform unless you guys share the stream. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight goes by the name Tinashe Jani. He is a Rhodes University graduate, a man that has done many things from cab driving as a student all the way to managing artists. He has lived in Botswana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. So he is the right person to be discussing the topic that we have today. Versatility and values to survive in a foreign country. And what we want to do is to unlock the keys to success in a foreign land. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Help me give Tinashe Jani a warm virtual welcome. Jani, hi, and how are you? Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Feel very honored. Hello, those who are watching. Thank you for making time.
Yes. No, people are watching. Clara Karonga, as always, watching from Kimberley. Thank you very much for coming in and tuning in, week out. And congratulations on your new blessing that has come your way. I hope you are enjoying that. Joy has come your way. Jani, thank you very much. It has been a long time me trying to track you down, but because of your busy schedule, obviously we had to reschedule, but finally you are here. I think a good place to start is Ucharamba Ochipisa, the song that we're playing initially. I should say, just in case I get sued, that I do not have any rights to that song, right? But of course, it is the song of the moment for Tinashe Jani. Can you just talk us through where's your headspace at and why that particular song?
So it's a personal sentiment, right? Then the song speaks to longevity and just that aspect of you always be the guy, or you always be hot, or you always be relevant. So I think just like with all swings in life, there's some moments where you start doubting yourself. So when you get that moment where you just triggered to like, oh no man, you always be the guy, you always be relevant. So every time I get into that space, I just play that song, I just feel myself come alive again. So yeah.
Yo, I love that so much, right? Because whoever we bring onto this platform is a young person that has got a proven record of excellence, of doing things, of achieving. They are goal-getters. But already as we're starting, one thing that I really like about what you just said is to say, even for goal-getters like ourselves, and I put myself in that category, we have moments of really doubting ourselves because life is life, right? It throws a chunk of things in our way, and sometimes you think, well, am I really going to make it? Am I still relevant? What is this life all about? And I guess that's what the song is trying to say, that you'll always be relevant, and there's a space for you. I think beautiful. Thank you for sharing that song with us. Maybe, and this is an avenue as we're just really starting our conversation. Maybe many people might not know who Tinashe Jani is. I gave a brief introduction, but I would like you to just speak a little bit about your background, who you are, your upbringing, the highs and the lows that life has thrown your way, and what you've learned and what you've learned from that experience.
Cool. So again, honored to be on this space. I'll just deviate from your question for 2 seconds. I've always wanted to be on this space. I just always looked at everyone that came on and was just impressed at all their achievements and the stories that they shared. So yeah, anyway, to your question, so who's Tinashe Jani? 32 now. So the Ucharamba Chipisa is a good reminder that, hey, even if you think you're past your prime, you always still be relevant. But yeah, 32, grew up in a very big family. Born and bred in Zim. Literally most of my young adult life I spent there. The big family, you sort of develop this like big network of like family and friends. So you always have like someone to call for something. So I sort of learned the aspect of network organizations. I use organizations for lack of a better word, but just that network that you have in a big family.
Mm, mm,
So yeah, that was pretty much just my childhood big family. My parents were very entrepreneurial, so I had that business acumen from them where I grew up not seeing them in a formal, sorry, I
mm,
use my hands quite a lot, can be distracting, but I
mm,
grew up seeing a lot of them in, what I'd say, like not the mainstream employment of avenues or opportunities. So that almost gave me an insight into there's a lot that is possible out there, and
mm.
it's not always the stuff that you see in front of
Yeah.
you. So yeah. But yeah, in a nutshell, I'd say 32, grew up in a very big family. Most of my entrepreneurial journey is influenced from my parents.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, went through, I think part of my teenagehood, I stayed in Botswana. I think you mentioned that as well.
yeah.
And then from then onwards, moved to SA. I've been here for about 12, 13 years now.
Yeah.
Enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, interesting. And I just want to drill in that aspect of big family, how that was like. Can you tell us some stories, funny, how you would, fight for the remote? Would you eat sadza in one plate? I know back home, back in the day, they would put everything in one plate and all the meat, and the older one has to go first. Can you just talk us through some of those dynamics of how many kids actually? Please, can you just tell us how many kids and yeah, share some stories with us.
Cool. So from my dad's side, there's six of us that we know,
Yeah.
RIP, of course. And then, but we grew up in a very close unit family. So even my cousins, we never used to call each other cousins. It's just
Mhm.
brothers. So in short, there are like 50 of us. At some point, would all be in one house, like a farm where we would all like either divide duties if you're waking up and going to feed the chickens, and also just the idea of I mean, we didn't eat in the same plate, thank God, because I don't think I don't think I would have gotten a lot of meat. My big
Yeah.
brother can be a bit of a bully, uh, but yeah, I mean, it was all good times. I mean, the one story that I can think of that I'm quite fond of is just us going to the same school, and at the bus stop would always be like all 10 of us, right? So we get on the bus, everyone's just like stressed, like those, here comes those Johnny kids. And now you get on the bus, you're literally disrupting everyone. People have to stand. If you're getting off, it's like, we literally needed our own bus at some point. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's such
No,
a fond memory.
I just want to say it explains a lot. You know how they say we are products of our past, and what we then become in terms of character, in terms of attitude, is a product of some of the things that we might have lived in our past. And I just look at you, you enter a space and you claim it, right? With your charisma, with your confidence, etc. And I see how that would have come from, also, claiming spaces as groupies, the Jani groupie.
Yeah.
Weji Jani is joining us. He's saying, Big Bro, watching live from H Town. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for watching us. We can already see you guys in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, welcome to Young Aspirations. Please drop a comment in this comment section. We want to know who you are and where you're watching from. If you have questions for Tinashe, please also type them in the comment section. We are monitoring that, and we'll be putting those questions through to him. Growing up, what were some of your passions? And if you look at some of at the path that you have taken thus far, do you see, is there a string tied to some of your passions that you had when you were young?
So yes and no. I think one of my passions, which I haven't lived up to, is being a soccer player. I really loved playing soccer, and now I have an ACL injury that came about because of that. So I think I haven't lived fully up to that. But in terms of some of the aspects, like bit of the entrepreneurship side. I think it has come through in my adult life. Just the standard stories you hear of like selling sweets in school, or selling your ballpoint pens, or just the almost the seeds of entrepreneurship that start off with like small things that you're doing, and then you realize no, you end up creating value in like small things. So yeah, and just I think one of the things, just my ability to also like network, right? Which I'm still to fully see it take off, because then I think there's stages of it, right? You first make sure that you have the people. The people also believe in what you're doing, and then you can monetize later on. So I think I'm on that journey. So far, I mean, it's been good. I did try it out with GoFundMe at some point. It worked out. So I think I'm headed on the right direction. But yeah, yes and no on the passions that I had as a young kid. I think the greater part of it is working out. Some of them didn't so much work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you
Yeah.
live and you learn.
I think it's important to know that not all dreams that we had as young people will come to pass, right? I think that I
Yeah.
used to say, when I grow up, I want to be a pilot, until I learned that physics is part of that package. And all of a sudden, physics was not happening, neither was mathematics. So you quickly realize that your passions sometimes need to align with some of your strengths, right? But I want to pick up on something that you just mentioned, right? And I think it's very, very important when you speak about some of the things that we used to do as young people. I just want to go back there and just get into your head space, because you're in the school space and you're talking about selling sweets. I used to do that a lot, and for me, it would be my mom saying, well, that's where our next, maybe it was not the same for you, but that's where our next meal would be coming from. That's where we would get our next, loaf of bread or something like that. But it was not something that was always pleasant, right? Because you'll be that child that is selling sweets in the school. Can you just take us through, tell us a little bit more about that? How did you manage that space and being that child that sells sweets? I used to sell avocados as well, and sometimes, freeze it. I don't know what you call them in South Africa, but at a taxi rank, and sometimes I would even run away from my schoolmates. If I see my schoolmate coming from that direction, I quickly run in the other direction, because it was a little bit humiliating, or might not have been the same for you. Let's speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so for me, I used to sell even school socks. So my mom used to come to South Africa, get socks at Hamaskar Day, and then she'd knit them, dye them to match our school colors, and then I would set up. So I'd set up at the flea market, and then I'd be the one like doing the maths and selling when she's not there. I think a part of me has never been embarrassed. I don't know. My relevance was never afforded by what I could afford materially. It was always who I was. So it wasn't a matter of like, maybe I'm a cool kid because I'm wearing Jordans or something. So I actually never, even up to now, I don't remember a moment where I felt inferior because of what I was doing. Because in that moment I was content. I enjoyed doing it. I knew I was helping my mom. So there's an element of like my home setup which didn't make the situation seem like we are not where we're supposed to be. So yeah, I was actually quite content in that space, that I didn't think, because it's all a state of mind, right? Obviously, when we're younger, it's a harder conversation to have. But if you don't feel like there's something that you're missing out on, or I actually thought it was pretty normal, or I was actually ahead of my peers, because then I knew like real life maths, because now I'd converse with people, they'll try get discounts, I would follow up on their like credits if they haven't paid. So yeah, I think for me it was just accepting that was reality, and I didn't have any other benchmark to say like, nah, maybe this is not it. Yeah.
No, I like that, because it means for me that I'm listening and I'm sitting on this side and I'm thinking that it would obviously take a strong mindset to be not be phased, with what you had or what you were doing at that time, and knowing that at the end of the day your confidence or who you are, your relevant, does not come from what you're doing, but by who you are on a general basis. I think that took maturity and from a young age, so to be able to do that. So I love that. But I think it's also a lesson to people to say, no matter where you are, and I think you're beginning to throw some of those nuggets to say, no matter who you are and where you are at life, you're not defined by that situation that you are in or that moment that you're in. You're defined by who you are as a person and your aspirations and your dreams, and that sets you apart. I think that's so powerful. Lisa Kusano, little sis watching from H Town. I see your group coming through. Tapi Muzi asking, are you still into cycling, Mr. Jani? That's a question which you'll answer in a moment. Chennai Maya Nai yo. Chennai saying selling from a young age builds character and resilience. It builds you into anything in this life. So just speaking about that, the importance of that exposure from a very, very young age. Thank you so much for engaging. Those of you that are watching, please keep on engaging with us. A question, and I think maybe just to beef this question up, because you speak about the power of networking, and we've said this a lot, and even on this platform, we keep on going back to it to say it used to be financial capital that used to matter in the yesteryears. But in this day, we speak so much about social capital that each and every number that you have in your phone should be some sort of capital. It should have some sort of value. If you are friends with someone on Facebook, it should have some sort of value attached to it. Can you just speak about how the bicycle thing came to be, what you're trying to achieve, and how it's related to the power of networking?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a social experiment because at any point in time, you don't know who you are up until you have to be who you are, right? Or who you expect to be. So in that moment, I started off, I use humor quite a lot. It helps me cope with a lot of situations. So I was humoring myself that, what, my guy, you're gaining marriage weight. And it's, by the way, I'm happily married. I guess
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know wifey is watching somewhere there in the background. Kudos to you.
Yeah. So, and then I always thought of like, do the people that are in my circle actually, are they just, because I get a lot of views. I get like, you post something, you have like 200 or 300 views. Can you monetize those? Because then that's essentially the difference between people just watching what you're doing because you're, I don't know, a comedian, or people actually finding value in what you're saying. So I have done it in different facets, right? Even throwing parties where people, it's not anything special that you're doing, but because they know you, there's that power of association that, okay, I know this person. So on this bicycle one, I thought, okay, I've seen like bicycle prices. They're north of something that I don't have a budget for right now. What if I could turn my social capital into a way of funding that bicycle, right? And the part of where most people don't actually get to do things is the fear of embarrassment. Like, what if I get $0? Which is a possibility, right? You're asking people for money. Money is a very sensitive thing. People have budgets for like 3 months ahead or things like that. And the economy is never nice to anyone. So that's a huge risk. But then it also like gave me courage to accept whatever it is, the fate that I'd get out there, whether it's positive or negative. And just to see some of my friends, I did drop a couple of inboxes, follow up, because you must also not be embarrassed. I think most of you have a genuine ask. If someone doesn't want, they can tell you no. No is not the end of the world. But hey, if you get a yes, you might get a bicycle. So worth a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, amazing, amazing. I think there's many things to learn from that. I'm loving this conversation because I'm not stopping learning. And sometimes you're also getting into places that I'm not really comfortable with, because I'm also one person that says, before I put anything out there, I need to rethink it. My image, what are people going to
Yeah,
think?
yeah,
And the
yeah,
moment you start thinking what people are going to think, you get into 1,000 minds and find all the negative things that people are going to think, and fear creeps in. So I think again, it takes a certain character, it takes a certain attitude and outlook on life, and the way you perceive and see life. And I appreciate learning from you, and I'm hoping that those of you that are in the comment section, we are learning some things. Don't be afraid to go out there and try and see how much your network is worth. I think Chennai coming through and saying your network is your network is your net worth. So don't be afraid of going out there and seeing how your network is worth. I think that's very, very, very powerful. You then decide to come and study in South Africa at some point in time. What had happened? Why South Africa? There's universities in Zimbabwe and Botswana. There's universities in Australia, man, and in the UK, in the US. South Africa was your destination. Why South Africa? And maybe as you just start speaking about that at arrival, was there a time that you ever felt like a foreigner?
cool. So why South Africa is a bit of a long story, but I'll try and make it brief. So in Botswana, I was doing my ACCA, which is that accounting professional qualification. And then I lost my dad at the time. So almost like at the peak of life as it was at that time. And then having to then now go back into the like not having a dad anymore. And just life shifts, right? I'm sure if for anyone who's lost a parent, life shifts. So that shift for me almost took me by a very, you become more mature for your age because you don't have a time to almost be a kid as life would like naturally roll, because now there's a lot of responsibility coming your way that maybe you think you're not ready for, but you have to be ready for. So upon my return to Zim, my aunt at the time then told me, hey, there are these scholarships that are on offer. You should apply, and then I applied. But from the switch part, right? So side context, the almost the life switch is like totally different. I know I'm using words that I'm trying to search for because I have to almost land this the way that I want to land it, right?
Yeah,
So in Botswana, think of life at this level, right? Life is
yeah,
good. You're at all the nice places. Life is like you're in Sandton.
yeah,
Let's use Sandton. Yeah, yeah. And then your dad passes on, so there's that switch. Life like then takes you back to you're now in Joburg CBD, lack of a
yeah,
better word. So
yeah,
now that Joburg CBD part requires different agility from you, right? You almost have to now activate another mindset to actually be in that space and not let it drown you. Because imagine someone from Central now in Joburg CBD, right?
mm,
There's nothing wrong with Joburg City, but just the switch. So
yeah,
now I'm now in Joburg CBD and just realizing, okay, there's this scholarship on offer. I apply, I get accepted, and then they choose the university that you have to go. So I know I'm in love with my alma mater and everything, but it wasn't by choice. I literally was, it was chosen for me. And
yeah,
uh, because at that space in my head, it was more opportunity, whatever it is, I'm going to grab it, right?
yeah,
Because I need to make sure that I change this CBD
yeah,
for analogy to a better one.
yeah,
So yeah, then that's how South Africa happened. And then at the beginning, I didn't feel like a foreigner because you we were almost like still in our small circles of like comfort,
Mm,
right? So usually when you feel like a foreigner is when you try explore other areas and there isn't
mm,
anyone else doing it, right? So we were still
mm,
in a small Zimbabwean circle. So you'd almost always have like a feeling of home wherever you are, like
yeah.
whether it's lectures or to sit with Zimbabweans. So I wasn't exposed to much of like the culture shock or anything because there was always like groups that made you feel like you're still like in a safe space in a way. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. I think it's important to say that I came with this man in a bus, one of those chicken buses from back in the day. Was it not 48 hours or
It was
3 days?
72 hours. It was 3
72
days.
hours of being
Yeah.
in a bus,
Yeah.
no bath, no what. It was
Yeah.
smelling in that bus, eh? And
Yeah.
but anyway, that's besides the point. We then arrive at Rhodes University, and for me, it was the first time that I was at this big institution, and there are buses that come to take us, but I'm still self-conscious, right? I'm smelling. And there's these white people that are coming to get us. And I'm just thinking they're saying, yo, kids from Zimbabwe. And already there's this notion about people that come from Zimbabwe, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not why we're here. I thought I should just put that out there. But, I think that what I'm learning from your story is to say, as you go outside the country, can we create those communities of where you find home away from home? Because you mentioned that, there was not many times that you'd feel as if you're in a foreign kind of land, but it was because of those communities, the people that you'd come, with, you were still able to speak Shona at some point in time, relate, and they would introduce you to other people that were already there that you could also relate to. So very, very important if you're thinking of moving to a new country, the first thing that you do, and it has been said on this platform before, is to say you look for a community. If church is something that will remind you of home, find a church for yourself. If there's people that are coming from, your home, whether it's South Africa, Zimbabwe, look for people from that community, and that will help that navigation kind of process. So I just wanted to find out, Jenny, because I would believe that at some point you do feel like, okay, all right, I'm not at home. Was there ever such a time for you? And maybe what I'm just trying to get is also how you navigate such places and how you dealt with such challenges.
So to be honest, I hear your question and I purposefully like navigated away from it the first time because I honestly I know the whole Africa we are one is almost like a cliche thing that's said. And maybe because it was the bit of Botswana experience that didn't make me feel I adapt in any space to not make me feel like I'm gonna stand out or I'm feeling like left behind. I try learn as much as I can of the place that way. So the foreigner aspect in a negative connotation for me has never actually materialized, not because of any like superior mindset, but I like to talk and network. So by virtue of that, I'm going to like make friendships across different countries, etc. So yes, for a little bit, but I'll teach myself to understand the languages in the area
Yeah.
so that I don't get left behind so much. I'll go play soccer with the guys. I'll go to like the location to also find out like what the vibe is. So
Mhm.
not so much. Maybe for me it was different, but
Mhm.
I did hear the first part of like the foreigner coming in, but yeah, if I recall it, I'll bring it up. But for now,
Yes. I,
yeah.
I I think also it is a huge issue with and maybe we should be saying this, how Rhodes University also is structured and has got a big diversity aspect to it. So you get into a residence where you'll be staying, and literally in that residence you're not, there's people that are coming from Kenya, there's people that are coming. I saw Joseph Minde somewhere. Did I say shout out to him, Joseph Minde, and I see the Tanzanian flag there. I hope I'm right that it's a Tanzanian Like,
It is. He's from
so there's people
Tanzania.
from Tanzania, there's people from Kenya, there's people from across the country. There's white, black, Indian. We're all in one place, and instead of seeing it as a place where there's discrimination, it's an opportunity to learn. So I think that could have been really a good safety net, and basically it kept you on your toes when it comes to learning. But I'm going to come back to that, but I'm asking my question a little bit different now, and I'm hoping that I get an answer from you this time. What are some of the differences, culturally, beliefs, way of life that you see between, and let's talk about the three countries. Look at Zimbabwe and culture and way of life beliefs, Botswana and South Africa. There's some noticeable differences, and maybe towards the end, are there some things that you wish that someone had told you about, Botswana or South Africa before you went into that? The reason why I'm asking is really just trying to help someone that might be looking at relocating, so that they also have a picture of what it would look like if they were to arrive in any of those countries that you've been privileged to be in.
Cool. So I forgot the one country that my blood actually resonates with, or not resonates. Actually, I'm from Mozambique. My dad is Mozambican. So by virtue, my mom is the Zimbabwean one in the relationship. By virtue of, I'm also mentioning it to almost bring a point to that all the different cultural aspects of the different countries have almost molded me in being this cross culture person, or so there are stark differences across all of them, but I'm not an authority in any of them because I don't belong to any one of them. I mean, even at my household, most of our Zim practices are a little bit in the middle because we're not fully Zimbabwean. And then when I relate to the Mozambican side of my family, I don't resonate fully because I'm not fully Mozambican. But some of the differences that I noticed, I mean, okay, one that I'd point out is just on, I think, the freedom of speaking to grown-ups or speaking. There's a lot more freedom in South Africa in that let me look for how to phrase it, because then it might land problematic. In Zimbabwe, our patriarchy is patriarching. In South Africa, there's a lot more open-minded views, and there's a lot more questioning, which is not deemed as disrespect, which allows people to actually, critically engage in things. Because in Zim, you might shy away from questioning because it might be disrespectful. So you never actually understand why you're doing something. You'd never had to ask why. But when I got here, I saw some of even the students, the way they were asking the questions in my standard Zim high school, you wouldn't ask it in that way because that might be quite problematic. So minor things like that, they did stand out in the beginning, but as I've always tried to ingrain myself in the area that I'm in, you end up almost assimilating yourself to say, oh, okay, this is how things are done here. This is the culture. But also not be too open-minded, because then you lose your own values. So you must always have your own standpoint.
Important point. Important point. Guys, I'm not this yellow. The more I look at the screen, if you're just joining us, it's load shedding. I am not this yellow. Should ESCOM come back at some point in time, please don't get amazed. I am not this yellow. Anyway, back to the point. I think that, I think that point that you just mentioned, our South African counterparts usually go say, you guys should go back to your country. Why are you not fighting for your education? Why are you not fighting for, the landscape is different. Here you've got freedom of speech, freedom. And if my government is listening, I'm not saying we don't have freedom of speech. But I'm just saying, in South Africa, you guys have got freedom, hey, and it's a little bit there, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that you notice, and it's many things. It's many things, and I'm saying this just to support some of the things that you were saying. You come to Rhodes, I think some of the things that caught me by the surprise. Even the level of dressing is different. I mean, we don't shy away.
Yeah.
I'm known for my straight short, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different. I mean,
I was
we are
shying
more
away
open
from
here.
that one. I was shying
I,
away
I, I
from
was,
that one.
I came to South Africa and I was like this. My eyes were like this the whole first week, right? And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
know, so you'd find that there's many things in, especially from a cultural perspective, that you might get a little bit of a cultural shock and say, what is going on? I think one of them that caught me by surprise as well. It was the first time. I mean, I was only 19, I think, when I came to South Africa, but it was the first time that I was, encountering LGBTQI open like that, and it took me a while to kind of get used to it. So I'm just saying this: if you're someone that obviously is moving to South Africa, these are some of the things that the society is open to and should not shock you, especially if you're coming from some of our societies that are a little bit, I won't say closed, but closed in quotes, right?
Yeah.
Very, very important. But I like your point, is to say, when you're moving into a new place, and this is not only for people that are thinking of moving. You might be moving from, even if you're moving from Gauteng to come to the Eastern Cape, there's a way of doing things in the Eastern Cape. I think I went with my closer to the Free State, and people used to think that I'm one of the arrogant closers that does not want to speak in their language. So there's a way of doing things, and there's a way of life there. And I think the point that you're bringing home is to say, whilst you get into that community and learn what they do and how they do things, and whilst you can get on to some of those things, it's always good for you to remember who you are and also stay grounded on what makes you, and not want to just, kind of get carried away with doing everything. I think that's a very, very strong point. You lose yourself. I remember Musho, I think, used to say, you wake up in the morning and you ask yourself, why am I here? Because
Yeah.
there's that possibility that you might get lost. Let's read a little bit of some comments. Tabi Sam, thank you so much. Actually, let me start with Mati Muzi, watching from Harare. Thank you very much for joining us. Tabi Sam agreed at Freddie. RIU is definitely diverse, which makes it a bit easy for everyone to sort of feel a sense of home belonging, right? Ladies from Bizai Mashate coming through and saying Rhodes was so diverse. So agreeing to the point. People were welcomed across cultures, nationalities. She remembers that aspect of Zim, Chennai saying in Zimbabwe, children are seen, not heard. I think this one is a powerful point. Hey, parents, if you are there, and some of us young adults, as we're starting to grow up, we need to start rethinking some of these things. Children should be seen, and children should be heard. I think that's a very important point. Thank you, Chennai, for coming through. What's a night charisma and coming through and just agreeing with that. Thank you for watching and supporting the hobby. Yeah, I should reiterate, he's taken. Hey, ladies, if you are joining us and you might have missed that part, happily married men, and we see the wife coming through and supporting. Thank
My
you very
wife
much.
does use a lot of guns. She can shoot a lot of guns, so just putting it out there.
Yeah, it took me a while to get where I really want us to get to, right? And I think it's time that we get into the topic today. We're talking versatility and the values of how to survive in a foreign country. I think maybe just start there and say, what does versatility mean for you? And let's just start there, and so that we can use that as a point of departure. And maybe if you can also just start sharing some of the things that you would have done as hustled, some of your many things that you would have done as a student and after your student life.
Cool. So I had the honor of hosting one of my good friends over the last weekend. Not the weekend that just finished, the one before that. He was coming from Tanzania for a weekend, and he basically said, "Hey, my boy, you have range." So versatility for me is range, right?
Yeah, powerful.
We are different things to different people, and we need to be different, like personas to different situations, because how I talk to you is not how I would talk to the next person. Doesn't mean I'm a different person, but that audience or that situation requires a different me.
Yeah.
So how I've sort of embraced versatility is in whatever situation I'm in, I need to survive. Not like goes back to I think that the aspect of even selling socks, etc. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been a cab driver. I like that story so much because it helps make people almost relate to you. No one wants you to start off as I'm the guy, right? Or
Yeah.
I'm the biggest thing in the world, or I'm one of top 100 graduates in South Africa. No one wants you to
Yeah.
start off saying that. It's human nature. So to be more relatable, and it's not because I did it to be relatable. It's because at that time it was actually what I
Mm.
needed to do to survive. So I've been a cab driver, all the graveyard shifts, like 3 a.m. trips, managed to, like continue with that venture for quite some time of my university life. I would be the
Yeah.
same guy that you see in lectures, but also the same guy that takes you to the airport at 3 a.m. and takes your bags. I was the guy that was buying hot dogs and,
And before, let me just disturb you there. Actually, I think
yeah.
we need to claim the space, Tinashe Jani. As far as it goes in Grahamstown, and anyone that wants to argue this can go and argue with themselves. But as far as it goes with cabs in Grahamstown, there was never cabs in Grahamstown until Tinashe Jani and I say this with boldness,
Yeah.
arrived on the scene and started running this. And today it's a different. So I think that we in that space really, I think we need to claim what is ours, and it's still running obviously. And I see still with some of the platforms that we created through that venture, we still see messages coming through, and that speaks to how big it was. But I thought I
Yeah.
should just put context so that those that are watching can also have that context with them. But you can continue.
Yeah, no, thanks for highlighting that. I think it's important to also like make sure you bring light to such developments because at that time it was the peak of our existence. We might just say 2 or 3 lines about it now, but it was a well-structured business. We re-engineered the Uber app and code our own
Mm,
Ubuntu ride. And
mm,
then in that same breath, I mean, the motives and the sort of reasons why always come down to solving a problem, right? We ourselves had problems trying to get lifts around town. We
mm,
ourselves had problems of friends not paying you when they using your car to like
mm,
move around. So you needed to solve all those aspects of problems, and then you come up with a solution. So that was one. And then the other versatility or the other element that why the word versatility speaks strong to me is the different ventures, right? So one of them was the selling hot dogs outside of the club. I'm not claiming that as the one person who brought it on. There was Mama Pam's,
mm,
and I followed on the footsteps. I realized when I did the maths that okay, the margins in food industry are actually quite good.
mm,
Just needed to get over the what would people say thing, but it didn't take me long because I've never had that image of me as the guy who cares a lot about what people say. So
mm,
I enjoyed that. I still in my future always model like going back into like that restaurant business because then
mm,
food industry actually has money. Like even now that I've done a
mm.
bit more research on it, that venture was actually founded on good business principles. So I totally enjoyed that. Then came another problem. I mean, the sending money outside of Zimbabwe was a big
Oh,
problem.
I
Still
remember
is,
that.
yeah, still is for some people. And then, money is a very sensitive thing. It requires trust. So in that aspect, almost had to remodel myself from the different images because now you have to be the guy that people trust with their money, not
Mm,
to spend it. You almost have
mm,
to be that guy that they think, okay, he's good for it. Even if he needs 2,000, he won't use my money because he has
mm,
his own. So
Yeah.
nobody would notice, but in the same sort of like trajectory, all my almost premium parties started also having relevance, because the thing about money likes where other money is, right? Like
Mm.
it's like birds of the same feather type of scenario. I mean, there's a lot more psych to it. Read up on it a while back, but for people to all the big money people that you know either have someone else that believed in them having money before they actually had it. So people had to buy the idea that we're actually the guys. So associating yourself with very premium brands like your Hennessy, I mean,
Yeah.
um, at that point, maybe it wasn't all calculated, but it all helped the image, because we had not quite the like large amounts. Even up to now, I still don't know how people trusted me with such big amounts. I mean, and my business partners, of course, and the team that I worked with, quite diligent and quite transparent. But yeah, that was also one of the big ventures that I went into. And the throwing the parties, I think you know about that. The anything can happen. It also came from trying to monetize your social
Mm.
capital, right? I mean, why not make your birthday your lifestyle? I mean, it sort of sounds like we're just taking lines from Drake, but if you
Yeah.
look at it, I mean, people used to pay to go to Big Al's birthday party. I mean, that's like he's gonna celebrate his birthday regardless. So it was okay, maybe I can try this. And then when I tried it, I realized it actually works. You just have to create value for people, give them something that you know they are passionate about. Have a story that's different from everyone else. And like Grahamstown is quite buzzing with a lot of entertainment, right? But you need
Mm.
to have something. And I think for me, that something was that pushing the women at the diamonds, because
Mm.
I had like five sisters, because growing up, everyone like we had a big family. So just relating to like females and not them having as many opportunities in like entertainment spaces as a guy would have made me also see, okay, there's a value here. We could actually bring this to the table, make all your events just focus on female entrepreneurs, whatever, if it's a DJ, if it's a videographer, if it's a singer, like just have females run. And
Yeah.
those parties ran so well that yeah, I was actually like, guys, we are missing out on a lot of big
Mm.
opportunities because we're not comfortable in, you know,
Mm.
trying out different avenues or different like people in the industry. So yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. There are a
Yeah.
lot of like ventures and things that I ended up doing, but all of it really helped build the person that I am today.
Yeah, I'm just reminded that when you were throwing parties, we were throwing services. So, it's service for those of you that are watching, service in terms of a church, right? And we always wondered from the other side, what is this guy doing, right? Until I got to sit down and learn the business side behind what Jani is doing. Now, anyone that knows Jani, you would agree with me to say when it comes to ideas, he never runs out of them, and they are really good ideas. And there's always a money factor. I think that many people agree to me that there's always a money factor to it, and that's why obviously I brought him onto the platform. Let's read a little bit of some comments, and if I forget, I might forget this, so I just want to throw it out there so that you start thinking about it. We want to speak about some of your failures, and we want to speak about some of closed doors, whether there were any doors that you knocked and they were not open, and how you respond to such things. Let me go to the comments, and I start by Chennai that is coming saying you were setting trends, leaving a mark on this world. And I guess that's a question that everyone needs to sit with, to say, what is that monument that you're building now that will outlive you? One day when you are rested and you die, when we come to your funeral, what are we going to say about you? What kind of a person were you? What monuments do you leave? Sit with that for a while and think about the path that you're taking. I think it's an important discussion to be had. Tafi Muz is saying, Freddie, why are you not putting respect on my name? I am the godfather of taxi industry. Tafi Musa, you are welcome. You are welcome. We welcomed you to the taxi industry. We welcomed you. But this is how true it is to say, today you look at Grahamstown, because if you are someone that has not been in Grahamstown, it's a student town. Everything is close. So no one ever saw the need of having taxis, and still students started to fill in that space and say, well, there's a niche here, because I might not need a taxi whilst I go to Pick and Pay and buy water. But if I'm now carrying 10 liters going back to Res, then I need something to help me buy. So it was students, and you can start to see some of those cab owners and cab drivers. We were owners and drivers at the same time. Tapi Muzi, nice to see you here. Chennai, I love that entrepreneurship. You found solutions to a problem. I'm just trying to see some of them. Jani, spot on, value addition is very important. Discover your niche is also important. Chennai, that is also coming. If you guys have questions for Tinashe Jani, please, we are monitoring the comment section. Please do throw in your comment or question, and we will be monitoring that. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if there's someone that you still know that should be here, we're still here for at least 20 minutes. If there's someone that you know that should be here and is not yet here, please just type their name in the comment section, and Facebook will notify them instantly, and they will be with us. Tinashe, we just want to speak about, because you mentioned so many things, and I see that you're doing so many things, and I know that many of them are thriving, but at some point in time you have losses, you fail. Let's speak about failure, and let's speak also with failure, some doors that one can knock and are closed, and when they are closed and when we fail, how do we, this notion of failing fast but also failing forward, how do we get into that space?
Yeah, so without sounding like a broken record, I think failure is almost like learning, right? I don't know if I'm going to be successful in anything that I start off. I have hope, I have belief, I have some stats behind me, but at the end of it all, nobody actually knows. So I tried selling water. I don't know if anyone remembers. I had my own bottled water in Grahamstown. I called it Keep It Simple. That venture didn't last. I didn't even sell 100 bottles of water. For someone that has over 5,000 friends, it was quite humbling. But I took it as, hey, this is not your thing. Don't try it. I tried to sell T-shirts as well. There were anything can happen labeled T-shirts. I realized there's a certain aspect of support that should, as humans, not sure if it's true across all races, I'll speak to mine. We don't want someone's deemed success to be in our face. So if something is doing well, try keep it, as much as you can, not in people's faces. I don't know if it's a conspiracy thing or whatnot, but the amount of the T-shirts are not priced in any like premium pricing, but they actually didn't do so well. And I almost had to blackmail some people to buy them because I had them printed already. But which I also learned that, okay, it's almost, I guess for some people, because you almost ask yourself why something didn't work out. You never get true answers from everyone, but I just realized, okay, maybe people don't want to be reminded that they're supporting you by wearing the clothes. But if it's something like a Nike where they don't actually see the person, the founder, or they're not in their face, you almost substantiate things. Otherwise, you keep going over it in your head. So I usually come up with answers that make me at peace. Try to, obviously, everyone applies for a lot of jobs. After my honors year, that's almost like one of my very humbling years in all my confidence and everything. I think at some point I was doubting all these certificates and all these accolades I was getting. But Didn't work out. Went to do my master's. Again, that didn't work out. I don't have a master's right now. I don't count that as a failure, not because, I don't count those years that I spent as something, but
Mm,
I did learn. I did learn how to research. I did learn how to, structure your thesis. I did complete it. It's just for one reason or the other, submitting it was just not,
mm,
yeah. So I do have some L's that I've turned into lessons.
mm,
And if for anyone that is listening, I mean, it is part of life. You never
mm.
keep winning. You just have to keep going.
Yeah. No, I love that because I think we when we're on social media and we are on a social media platform, so your Facebook, your Instagram, your any social media, you see that even with myself, I am inclined to post about my success stories, and that's what is in the face of people, and then they think that everything about me is success. And not always do we also talk about those moments where we failed. So I love this platform, and I love you for being authentic and saying, look here, it's not all rosy. There are things that we tried out, they didn't work, but for me, this is what it means. And it's always important to say when failure, and we put it in quotes because it means something totally different for us. We don't have fail, we learn. All right, but when failure happens, how do you interpret it? How do you make sense of it, and how do you move on from there? I think that is a very, very important discussion to be having. Thank you so much for being authentic and sharing that experience with us. I just want to just and now I'm rounding up. I see Peter Matanda watching us from Grahamstown. I'm just giving a shout out to some of the people that I might have missed. Thank you so much. And we're talking about all these business ideas in a student town and what works. So I think we're throwing some business ideas out there. There is still room for you to pick up one or two of these ones and still run with them if you are in Grahamstown or if it works for your environment, right? I just wanted to speak to this aspect of versatility, right? And now just marry it to being foreigner. And I'm sorry I keep on coming to this. There's a conviction in me where I have seen young people moving, and it can be young South Africans. They are saying, oh, well, we have had too much of load shedding. Unemployment is going up. We're looking for opportunities in Australia. We're looking for opportunities in the UK, etc. And I saw someone that I might not have given a shout out as well. I'm just remembering Taurai Kativu. He was speaking about time differences. I think it's because he's not in the country as well. So young people are moving. I just want you to speak of the importance of being versatile, especially if you are coming into a country and it is not yours. Because I see a lot of young people struggling because they come in and they say, well, I started to be a nurse, so I'm looking for nursing. And if nursing does not happen, it seems as if their life is over. Can we just speak about that aspect and how it marries, especially if you're not in your own space? Yeah, should.
Yeah. I think my first departure point would be your last point, that you're not in your own space. That
Mm,
understanding of that this is now a different environment. Understand that environment. So we need to learn to adapt to whatever situation, because we- if we don't do that, we don't grow.
mm,
All the comfort that we've sort of like over time been accustomed to almost shields us from who we can be, who potentially we can grow up to be. Because
mm,
if at any point you're comfortable in any situation, you won't see the reason to
mm,
go out of your comfort space or your circle. So understand that you're not in your space. Learn the different things that are happening in that space. Because I'll give you an example of corporate. The things that I did so well in varsity, I'm not doing any of them right now.
yeah.
You adapt. It's the environment, and anyone in corporate would tell you, to different industries, obviously, that sometimes things actually change. Even your job description, you might end up having to do different things. So allow yourself that bandwidth. It's in you. Don't be scared. You will actually like conquer it. Just never actually just box yourself, because then the struggle or the friction usually comes you thinking, no, this is not the way we do things. No, this is not the way, I should do it. This is not the way I was raised, or things like that.
Mhm.
If in that moment things require a different you, adapt. Always have your own strong standard, like standpoint. I always tell people not to be too open-minded that you'll be blown with the air. Just have
Yeah,
your own like standpoint. But in everything, have flexibility. We are living in a
yeah,
very changing world where the only thing that's constant is change. So
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
going to be, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's powerful. Sorry, I was not disrupting you. This was just me
Go.
consuming, the things that you're saying is to say, get out
Yeah,
of your comfort zone. If you're listening to us right now, get out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone
yeah.
has never done anything productive for anyone. So, start doing some of those things that you said. Well, maybe not me. I am here. I'm sitting a law graduate with a master's in commerce and focus on taxation, working in science communication. When you meet me, don't ask me why I'm not in legal practice.
You
Don't
see,
ask
there's that
me. I'm being
versatility.
versatile. I'm being versatile. Don't ask me that. But
Yeah, yeah.
anyways, but it does speak to just stepping out of your comfort zone, and sometimes taking what is available and using what is available to kind of catapult you to that place where you ultimately want to be. I think that is very, 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 very important. I wanted to ask this question as it is because you speak about that ever changing. Anything that is, you said the only thing that is remaining constant is change. And I'm going to read it as it is. It says, how do you balance ambition and goal setting with the need to remain flexible? So there's ambition this side, and then there's goals to be set this side, and you need to still remain flexible in this environment that is ever changing. How do you go about balancing that and finding that balance?
Yeah, it's a hard one. But I'd also say it starts with having your true north, right? Your north never changes.
Yeah.
It's like having a value setting. There are certain things that are ingrained that will forever be me, right?
Mm,
If my north is to be um, the fastest person on earth, right? I'm going to challenge Usain Bolt. I might start off by going to cross fitness, or I might start off by doing 100 meters by Virgin Active, right? There are
mm,
different ways. Or no, I don't have gym membership anymore. I have to start now running around my yard.
mm,
So there's that goal setting, that ambition. It's there. Your north never changes. There
mm,
is all these things that are happening that will try move you. All you have to do is adapt, but keep your north. If your direction, if you're set that, hey, I'm going to end there, whatever
mm,
there is for you, you find a way to do it.
mm,
It
mm.
won't be easy, because literally everything that's easy is never, it's never worth it. If your note is
Yeah,
that easy, then I mean, yeah, that happy for you. But at the end of the day, if you know your north, like
yeah,
you always have that vision that, hey,
yeah.
what this side shows, etc. I still have where I'm going.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that. I love that. You need to be grounded in who you are and what it is that your target is. I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm not even going to try and add anything as we're slowly going towards the end. I'm keen to know, and I know that we've been dropping some of these things as we're speaking. So it's now, time to really summarize some of these things and come and bring them together. But I would like to learn, what does success mean for you, and what would you say it takes to be successful?
Whew. Success. Sha sha. um, so for me, success is,
Okay, I hear you.
yeah. Now, success for me is freedom, eh?
Yeah,
It's the ability to be able to do what I want, when I want, and how I want.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's, yeah, and what it takes, whew, yeah, it takes sleepless nights, dedication, commitment. It's commitment over motivation, because
Mm.
Motivation is like a Samsung battery; it will just die quickly. But yeah, commitment, because you see the freedom that comes with having control of your own time. That for me, like, I would literally just end there without diluting the word freedom much more. Like, for me, it's just that that's what success is, and I'll keep working to attain it.
Yeah. Freedom.
Yeah.
And I won't even add a single thing to it. You can see I'm really starting to go towards the end, because I promised you to be here for just an hour. But I think I love it. It's more of that aspect of commitment rather than passion, because passion, kind of runs out. But
Yeah.
commitment is what we need to. I would actually say, I used to remember some of those days when we were coming up with apps and trying to put a structure, a business. I would not sleep. So in my sleep, I'm half asleep and I'm also thinking, how can we make this thing work?
Yeah.
I used to be passionate. I used to be hungry, man. I used to be hungry. And, I look at it now, and I think it's something that we need to really speak about, and also say, it's a reality, is to say, as we grow up, life requires more of us. And, I've got more to think about now, because I'm thinking about my wife and I'm thinking about my children, and, um, there's not enough time for you to commit, but commitment takes sacrifice. And I think that's another point that we can just add there as a layer. As we conclude, and this show, for those of you that have been watching for the very first time, is called Young Aspirations. And basically, we're referring to young dreams. What do you dream to have, to be, to become as a young person? And that is what we are saying, can we give it life through shared stories on this platform? So I want to ask you, Tinashe Jani, to say, what is your young aspiration, your young dream for self, as number one, and as you are going towards the end, for young people in Africa?
That's a tough one, eh? So only because it's a tough one, because it has changed quite a bit for some time, for every different stage. I remember having these business cards like way back, I think 10 years, like way back. And they had like, I wanted to own a chain of supermarkets, so I'm realizing that, like you pointed out, life requires more of us at different stages. Um, my my aspiration, I'm gonna quote Beyonce, here, is to be happy.
I love it. I love it. I love
To
it.
be
I love
happy,
it. I love it.
have peace of mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Uh,
it.
yeah.
I love it. I love it, because I think we go through life, and if you're watching, I think this just blew my mind, because I was not expecting that, because people are always philosophical when we come to to this question, right? And I would be philosophical as well, but it's simple as such, to say the real reason why we are here is, at the end of the day, if we can attain happiness, that should be your ultimate goal, your peace of mind. And I think if
Yeah.
you're at that space, then you have lived. Otherwise, you go around life chasing goal after goal, and you forget to live. So I think that is super powerful for a young African, young people in Africa.
It's for them to believe more in themselves,
Mm,
believe that we're actually the biggest continent in the world. I
mm,
know the map doesn't seem to suggest so, but by virtue of that, all the minerals, and to also use the negative to develop the positive.
mm,
I mean, there will always be excuses. There are also kids starving in the
mm,
United States of America. There are kids starving in Netherlands. I mean, there's dire situations everywhere. We just have to literally believe that, hey, we're the ones that we've been waiting for. And yeah, start taking that energy and then take it one step at a time. We're not going to build Rome in a day.
yeah,
Let's,
yeah.
yeah, take it one day at a time.
Yeah, I was going to let you go, but I'm not going to let you go before we talk about this. When you managed an artist, or many artists so, tell us about that experience. Do you want to share who is the artist I at liberty to be sharing, because I know there's contract and they would say, oh, you're now claiming you're the one that made me, but we all know some of us are actually following some of those artists because you were the ones pushing them. Can we just speak about that and take a moment, because I'm thinking about all these things that you're doing, and then you're managing artists all of a sudden, and now there's some of them have broken to be big artists. Let's speak about that.
Yeah, so my first stint, so right now I'm actually managing two artists, Varaizo and M Killer. They their way of sort of releasing songs is not as frequent. So you will see them here and there, but I always encourage them to do more. My first
Mm,
stint was with Holy 10. Yeah, it was, I think, one of where I was also learning the music space. And I was honest when I got in that I know how to manage brands, from like working at one of the biggest brands in the world, if not the biggest, and
mm,
seeing how, like how a brand is treated, and how to monetize a brand, the image that you should portray. So I went into it with two of my friends, Eddie and Ma, and it grew from there. And then towards the end, I had got like a promotion at work, so I knew that for me to cement like a legacy in my new role, I needed to free up some time. So yeah, it went well. We still have like cordial relationships with everyone
mm,
across the industry. I've made some great relationships even with like the big artists nowadays. So
mm.
um, I enjoyed it. I do it just to also keep me updated in what is happening in the music
Yeah.
spaces. I mean, there's a lot that we don't experience when you're outside the country, and
Mm,
just being part of those conversations, knowing what's happening, who's relevant, influencing that journey as
mm,
well. For me, it's my way of like living through the
mm.
Zimbabwean part of me through the managing of the artist.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know what I'm going to say on this live, and I've never said this to anyone on this live platform, but I'm going to say you inspire me, right? And I envy you because you're also leaving some of the parts that we want to kind of live in, areas that we also want to impact. So you are an inspiration. I'm not going to speak on behalf of anyone else, but let me say that you're an inspiration to me. And if that counts, then I know that you're an inspiration to many young people. I would really love for you to keep on doing what you're doing, and thriving and winning. We are there and cheering you on. But I want to give you this opportunity just to say any last words if you have them. I've kept you here more than I had promised you.
I'm not complaining. My wife might be, but hey, I'll tell her it was you. Last words, probably my most famous saying in the world. It's anything can happen. You have to believe that you can achieve, and anything will happen.
Yeah.
Anything did happen for me, and is still happening. So yeah, anything can happen.
Yeah, powerful, powerful, powerful. As I said, we can only wish you nothing but the best. And, even as we are on this platform, we say, may God bless the fruit of your mind and the works of your hands. If that can be multiplied, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for making time to be on this platform. But beyond that, for sharing your story and experience with us. I know many have been inspired. If you have been inspired, please type in the comment section what you liked about this interview. Please also share it far and wide. If there are people that have not watched it, please share it with them, share it onto other platforms as well. And thank you to also you guys that came to watch us. I think that it would have been boring for me and Jani to be speaking to the two of us. Thank you for visiting us, and hope to see you again. From Freddie, sitting in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. And it is from Tinashe Jani. Before I exit, Jani, where can people find you? So you see, it's not scripted. It's not scripted, you people. Hey, I forget some things. I forget some things, and even the important things I forget.
Cool. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tinashe Jani. You can find me on Facebook, Tinashe Jani. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jani_Wacho. I had to claim that I'm the Jani because we're such a big family. So I had to tell them that, hey, I'm the Jani. But yeah, so those are my social media handles. Cool.
From Jani sitting in Gauteng province of South Africa, and from Freddie sitting in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa, it is good evening and good night.